Hmm. Hello, everybody. Happy Monday morning. Another week of August. Beautiful weather here in Los Angeles. About to head to the clubhouse slash pool and see if I can cool down a little bit. Either way, the last video I left was I mentioned that I wanted to read the Romans. There's also another reading that I have planned, um, and this one is um, the world's famous orations. This one is On American Motherhood by Theodore Roosevelt, a true president that we had, like a real one. It's been a while, I know. And we might get there. Don't worry, guys. Don't panic. It's not, don't despair just yet. So anyhow, I'll read what I wanted to read about the Romans, and then I'll get to this. Yeah, but first I just wanted to mention how basically is don't get provoked is my advice to people that have their whole life ahead of them. There is no reason for anybody to put their own life in jeopardy over trash that you're never going to be able to over, like you can't um, outdo them. If you start to get yourself, if you put yourself in a position where you have to outdo trash, you kind of end up just like them. And they're peasants, really. They're trying to get everybody. It's like a trick almost. Like they're like tricksters. Like they're like, how do I get everybody else to be a peasant and accept me as their president? And then they like start to provoke you, and they start to like try and get under your skin. And that does several things. It basically it puts you in jeopardy, and a prosperous future for yourself. But then it also distracts you, or distracts from what's truly the issues that need to be addressed, right? So if you're too busy, playing tit for tat and that sort of thing, it's really difficult. I mean, it's not as difficult when it doesn't involve your kids. I'm talking from experience, obviously. I mean, I had a crackhead trying to play like the victim, like my victim. We were like, like I left him in 2004, and like in 2010, he was trying to play my like, like he's my victim. Like what? Sure. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, this guy's probably like he's definitely a killer. I mean, I'm not just saying that. I mean, he's not a good. He's bad news. Anyhow, I left him in a very amicable way. And again, when people want to suck you in and drag you down beneath them, is they're going to um, um, yeah, they're gonna like use as many tricks as they can, and that's all they are. They're just tricks. So anyhow, um, so I wanted to go ahead and talk about the Romans from here, and that's going to be. Hang on a second. Okay, so Romans. We're going to start with Romans chapter 1, verse 12. The wrath of God is indeed being revealed from heaven against every impiety and wickedness of those who suppress the truth by their wickedness. For what can be known about God is evident to them, because God made it evident to them. Ever since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes of eternal power and divinity have been able to be understood and perceived in what he has made. As a result, they have no excuse. For although they knew God, they did not accord him glory as God or give him thanks. Instead, they became vain in their reasoning, and their senseless minds were darkened. While claiming to be wise, they became fools. I just call them peasants. And exchanged the glory of the immortal God for the likeness of an image of mortal man. And exchanged the glory of the immortal God for the likeness of an image of mortal man, or of birds, or of four legged animals, or of snakes. Therefore, God handed them over to impurity through the lust of their hearts for the mutual degradation of their bodies. And I'll leave it there. There's obviously a lot of good stuff in Romans. Again, I did start to read um, these letters again, and I should keep up with it. I start something new every day, and I never actually follow through on one thing. I have to get better about that. Either way, yeah. So, and let me go ahead and talk about what Theodore Roosevelt had to say about on American motherhood. This is one passage in that in this reading that I really like. Um, and it starts here. Into the woman's keeping is committed the destiny of the generations to come after us. In bringing up your children, you mothers must remember that while it is essential to be loving and tender, it is no less essential to be wise and firm. Foolishness and affection must not be treated as interchangeable terms. And besides training your sons and daughters in the softer and milder virtues, you must seek to give them those stern and hardy qualities which in afterlife they will surely need. Some children will go wrong in spite of the best training, and some will go right even when their surroundings are most unfortunate. Nevertheless, an immense amount depends upon the family training. If you mothers through weakness bring up your sons to be selfish and to think only of themselves, you will be responsible for such sadness among the women who are to be their wives in the future. And it just goes on and on. Anyhow, it has a lot of very wise advice as to what it is to be a woman and what true sacrifice as a woman really is. um, so I just want to mention that there are prototypes of a woman. Some are horse. Let's not, I'm not afraid to use the word. I mean, some might, people that are like satanic might, switch it around because they're, into the whole apostasy thing. That's how they're, what they, only thing they have to cling to really at the end of the day. Um, but, um, but I did want to say that there's women that really like to be manipulative to the point where they provoke other people so that they can then turn around and play the victim, because if they do this, they're always keeping you kind of under their control, and they feel like that's the only way that they can get what they want. Basically, they're not people that think about how the children around them might think. I mean, at least I was good enough that I didn't provoke anybody to raise a hand on me ever, um because I want my kids to have a good dad. I mean, I don't, as I've mentioned before, my dad had his own issues, and I guess the only difference would be is that my dad actually paid for it. My dad actually had to suffer consequences, and it's not fair for people that have done the same thing to get away with it. I mean, we see it in the presidency now. It's so shameful, and it's also it's so bad for character, and it's so bad for the rest of future generations. And um I mean, if anybody is enticing or encouraging the kind of behavior that the dirty Democrats, as I like to call them, um, are insinuating, it would be them. It would be people that don't have any moral ground. They don't have any they don't have any standards. Like, their standards have dwindled, and they're okay with it. And it's not only about optics and that sort of thing. I mean, for me, um, when people only worry about the facade, like putting up a front and playing that role, that could be scary too. Because again, with this crackhead, and I don't care what he thinks I call him now, he deserves it. He deserves that and more. Okay, he didn't deserve me to begin with, and he doesn't deserve that I had to pay him child support. He doesn't deserve that. That all I do is call him what he is. That everybody else knows is what he is anyway. um he deserved a lot worse. He deserved like the kind of woman that would provoke him and get him, like, to get him in jail. And we'll see what happens. That's something that I always thought, you know what, life is gonna catch up to him. Done. Um, so so yeah, that's kind of what these dirty Democrats are really doing, is keep that in mind, is they're trying to put themselves in a position where they can play the victim, and they have to do it through um maneuvering and manipulations, and trying to take the steering wheel from you, from what is good for you, and trying to get you on a reactive level. This is thuggish stuff. This is stuff that I learned from thugs in the street, that, when I was like 16, 17. Luckily I have more or less of a good head on my shoulders that told me, like, okay, but you still have, and I had kids, and all I wanted to do is focus on their future. And it sucks because my kids are normal, and they will get used against me, and it's going to work, and it could be hurtful, but you know what? They're normal. So there, and I'm not controlling, and as long as they're happy, and they know when I'm upset, that's all I can do. Either way, have a great rest of your Monday. I am going to go back to looking for work, and we'll see what happens. Have a great rest of your day again. See you next time. Bye.